Kid Vermont. It's at, I forget the name of the frat, but it's at this one frat house. I'll send out the exact address and directions and everything, how to get there. But Campus Cruise will take you there. It's part of like their, I don't know, district or whatever. So wear your scrubs, because it's a lot of fun to wear your scrubs, I guess. At 9. And there's going to be pizza, there'll be like chips and drinks, there'll be alcohol too, and we're going to have a lot of like games and stuff for us to play as well to get to know each other better. So make sure you guys come out, it'll be a lot of fun. And look out in your email for the address and everything.
Yeah, so...
How long is that question?
It'll go till at least 1.
Okay.
Hopefully 3, but...
Yeah. Last year it went even later.
Yeah, last year, I don't want to lie.
Yeah.
I mean, you just get so comfortable in your scrub, you don't want to leave.
Anyways, we don't want to give too much information. So because of next week's Scrubs party, I don't imagine anyone waking up at 8 a.m. to go to SSC, including myself. So I canceled SSC next week. But Ambika and I have been working really hard. We've been cooperating with dental students, and we are actually doing a large-scale SSC with dental students in Long Beach. It's on Wednesday and Thursday, and you guys will get more information about that either today, tomorrow, from Joanne, so definitely expect that.
Okay. Is it going to be in the morning or the afternoon?
It's going to be, it starts at, we leave here around 12, and I assume it starts at 1, because it's supposed to be somewhat of an after-school program for them, so, yeah.
Yeah, so it's a program that the dental students organize, and they invited us to come and help out, so I think it's a great opportunity for all of us, to get to know dental students and also the community a lot.
So it's 5 members on Wednesday, and then 2 to 3 members on Thursday. Yeah.
Pretty great opportunity.
Yeah.
If you can go, you should definitely go.
I mean, it's rare. This is definitely the first time we've ever.
We did like 2 years ago on campus, like 7th and 8th graders. It was a pretty cool experience. I mean, a lot different than SSC.
Yeah.
So make sure you sign up as soon as you get the email, and then we'll go from there. Okay, perfect.
Wait, I have one more.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm currently ordering small scrubs, and I'm just curious by show of hands how many people are waiting for small scrubs. So it'll be a couple weeks. I have mediums and larges here if you need to purchase those, but yeah, it'll be about 2 weeks before we get the small ones.
And I would say try on the medium, see if it's here. Okay.
30.
And then we also have Member of the Month today. So this is a member that has shown us how dedicated he is to the club. He's always at our events, very active, very passionate about DBS. And so we have an award for David.
Yeah! Look at him, he's blushing.
And as Member of the Month, his picture will go on our website with admissions, and we will have a for the next week. Congratulations. Perfect. So we're going to get started, and we have some presenters for you today. We have Kaplan here with us, Kingston, and Starwood. So let's give them a round of applause.
Just really quick announcement, guys. We have another trip to Ensenada coming up for the 2nd and 3rd of November. We are taking 3 volunteers. We're going with one of the dental students, named Miss Sam. This is his email at the bottom. Go ahead and send him as soon as possible. And then from there, he's going to make a pool of DDS members. And from there, choose 3 people to go. We get to assist dentists and hygienists of the same different stations. And it's a lot of fun because they actually let you do a lot. A lot of the hygienists will just sit there and watch you do everything else. You get to watch actual surgeries. I got to watch a rhinoplasty, bone graft, all these different things. Taking it from the hip. It's really cool. You get to like stand 2 feet away from the actual surgery. It's really cool. And then you can teach the kids, and it's a lot of fun. So I really encourage you to do it. It's so much fun. It starts from Friday morning till Saturday night. and we all drive down together and drive back up. So I encourage you to email Sam. Thank you.
Okay, alright, so me and David are actually going to go ahead and talk a little bit about the DAT, the dental admission test. Everybody who wants to apply to dental school has to take this exam. So it's really important, and yeah, so it's going to give you some basic info.
So pretty much if you get applications open up in June or June, like June 6th or 8th. Figure out when you want to take the test. It's always recommended taking it before the applications. So you already have your score and everything. It takes a few weeks for your score to go into the ADA system, the DAT system. Take your test a month or two before June, so you have everything ready. So right when applications open, you guys could all submit them. And then study, take a prep course, however you guys like. Personally, I took a prep course. It works out. They pretty much break it down for you, so that kind of makes it easy. You go to denpin.ada.org/DAT.ASPX. You go to Denpin, you'll always have that for the rest of your schooling. You can use that even when you get into school. You go to Denpin with that, you schedule your exam. You have to get an eligibility date through the Prometric site. They give you like a eligibility number. You put that on the website, then you can pick a date. You guys are able to reschedule the test date. It's about $25, I believe, every time you reschedule. The original DAT costs $360, one-time fee per test, and then $25 if you want to reschedule it. So just pick a date that you guys are happy with. If you guys aren't ready, you guys could always push it off. You have to do it 48 hours in advance, or else it counts as a cancel or a no-show. And then, so the way the exam works, it runs about 5 hours. You get in, you check in, they metal detect you, fingerprint you, they take a picture of you, all that stuff. And then there's a 15-minute, you start off, well, let's go in order. You have 4 sections. You have your natural sciences, which is like bio, GChem, and OChem. And you have your PAT, and it goes into reading comp and quant. And then right when you're done with your exam, they give you like a 5-minute survey you take. Take the survey, how was the testing center, how did you like the staff, was it quick, this and that, you answer that, you hit submit. Wait about a minute, your score pops up right on the screen. So like you're sitting there, it's like calculating, it's like downloading something. You're just waiting for the thing to get to the end, gets there and it goes bam. Yeah. So like it's pretty cool, but yeah, the whole place is on cameras, so it's pretty cool. Scored on a 30-point scale. They say like the average is about 18. National average, so you go from there. And then you start off the exam, you have a 15-minute startup, teaches you like, this is where the next button is, you could always go back. You have your time in the top right of the screen, I believe. You have a calculator, it says appendix, you hit a button, the calculator pops up. In the science section, you hit a button, the periodic table pops up. And then, yeah, pretty much if you take Kaplan, it's the same thing. If you go on the ADA website, they have the tutorial on there. You could take it. I took that the day before. When I went to the exam, I already knew what it was. You don't have to waste 15 minutes. You could also skip the tutorial if you guys want. Yeah, good time to calm yourself. You start off with the sciences. The bio, 40 questions. GChem, 30 questions, and OChem, 30 questions. I believe it's a break right after that, right?
No, after. Okay, so I'll go into this. So once you do your natural sciences, then you move immediately, like once the time is up on that, you move immediately into the perceptual ability section. It's exactly in this order. Keyholes, top front end, angles, holes, cube counting, and pattern folding. This is just a couple examples of what this stuff means. So you have 60 minutes for this section. This is when you get the break. After these 2 sections, you can bypass the break and go on to the next section. I highly would recommend taking the break, and everyone I've ever spoken to says you should take the break. Even if you feel like confident and you're like, no, I can do it, you really are pretty exhausted by the time you go on. So I would say take the break. I took a little bar, and I took Gatorade. So, and it's kind of a process. Like when you have to exit the test center, they have to fingerprint you, and then you can go outside. And when you come back in, they have to fingerprint you again. So you want to make sure you time that in a way where you get out, you eat, you have a drink of water, you take a breath, and then you have time to come back in, and they can fingerprint you. Because the exam starts whether you're there or not. So once the 15 minutes runs out, you start. after you come back to that, you start immediately with your reading comprehension section with 3 passages. They're mostly scientific based, but I have heard of people getting ethical questions. So ethical passages, I had 3 science sections, but it happens. It's 50 questions total, not each section. 3 passages, 50 questions total. And then once that's over, you go into QR, which is your last section. 40 questions, 45 minutes. There is an online calculator. I wouldn't recommend using it. I took a Kaplan course and they also recommended that I not use it because it freezes sometimes and it's a little bit hard to use. It's kind of like the ones you have on your computer, missing a bunch of money. So if you can work it out, everybody work it out and learn how to do it on paper. Well, on a whiteboard.
You have to click through, you can't use your numeric keypad.
Yeah, there's no numeric keypad, there's nothing like that. Also, I forgot to mention in this presentation, you don't have paper on the exam, you have a whiteboard. At my Prometric Center, they give you 2 sheets of whiteboard that you fill up front and back, and then you can raise your hand and they'll bring you a new sheet and take one from you. So there's that too. So when you're practicing, I practice the entire time on a whiteboard.
It's like a laminated piece of paper.
Yeah.
Pretty much front and back. One side has grids, the other side is just plain. So like the grids will help you with like geometry and stuff.
Right, with keeping everything.
Yeah, and then the other side you use that.
Okay, next section. So when it's over, yeah, we already talked about this. You take a very quick survey. Most people just end up clicking through it as fast as you can because once you're done, your scores pop up. You get scores for each of these sections, and then at the end you get a total science, which is the average of these 3, and then you get an academic average, which is the average of the entire course.
Without the academic average is 5 without the 8.
These are the resources. Yeah, it can be a little bit pricey, but these are what I and I think a lot of people would recommend using. We'll put this PowerPoint online so you guys can use this. This is the approximate cost. I would say use Amazon and eBay and us as your resource and Craigslist to get them as cheap as possible. Student.net, if you're not already familiar with that, that's a really great place to go. A lot of people post up how they study, their study schedules, a lot of things. This is a really great resource, so check that out. And then also our DDS Facebook page now has a new page where if you're looking to buy materials, we have a page for that where anyone who's already taken the DAT can post what they're selling. So we can buy from each other rather than having to pay for shipping. Sample study schedule. I just took this off of student.net. This is one of the really popular ones up there. It's the 8-week study schedule. I just wanted to kind of show you guys a snapshot. It's a lot. I know it's a lot. It's a lot of information. It's a lot of subjects. So I would say start studying and study as long as you need to study. I know some people do it in 8 weeks. Some people do it in 4. Some people do it in 6 months. So it really kind of depends on you. So yeah, this is just a continuation of one study sample. So yeah, any questions?
No question?
Any questions? Yes.
So there's no physics at all?
No,
right? Okay.
no. Our physics kind of got swapped out for perceptual ability, which I would say is probably equally as hard. So.
Practice. Oh yeah. Look at the.
Yes.
Okay. What would you say is the hardest section you guys found in the group?
I would say the hardest section to study for is biology because it's very, very, very. They could ask you anything.
They'll ask you left field questions, things you've never heard of.
They can ask lab questions. Some people get lab questions. Yeah. So I would say biology is the one that takes the most time. I wouldn't particularly say any section is unbelievably impossible. It's it's just a matter of how much time that you put into it. But I would say start with bio as soon as you can.
Is it at least like straightforward or?
Like there'll be like a question like which of the following animals don't have an amniotic sac?
So
You'll have like 5 different types of animals, phylums or whatever. Which one does not have an amniotic sac? Or
and
like
they're
they'll
big
ask
on
you-
phylums.
Yeah, they'll ask you like things like that or adaptive is.
But I know on my exam I had a couple questions where you actually had to apply your knowledge. So it wasn't as straightforward. They would take something that you've learned, a concept that you should be familiar with, and apply it to something completely different. And it also depends on what version of the exam you get. There's that too. Everybody gets a different version of the exam. So this group of people might have gotten this exam which maybe had more straightforward questions. Other people I've heard get questions where it's like bio questions out of left field and ethical passages. So it really, you just kind of have to prepare for whatever you might encounter.
You also have to wait 90 days in between every time you take it.
Exactly. So if you take your DAT and you're not happy,
you're really ready. So if you're not ready, push it off. It's $25.
it's better to take a week.
Push it
I
off.
would say it's better to push it a week than 2 because if you don't like your scores, you have to wait 90 days.
Just kind of on the bio section, I would recommend like the very first thing you do is take a bio practice test using like CrackThat or something because they break it down and they basically tell you what sections in bio you're weak on, and based on that you can kind of like see what sections you should study harder for. Like I felt like Bio 120 and 220, we didn't really go into like embryology and stuff like that, gravity death, so that was like the section I was super weak on and like spent a lot of time studying on. So for bio, take practice, for everything, it's all about taking as many practice tests as possible.
Yeah, in the resources, I listed top score and achiever. I think those are the two. Top score and achiever are the two that you should be doing about 3 weeks before your exam. These are actual practice, full-length practice exams. People have, general consensus is that you score better on the actual DAT than you do on either of these things. For me personally, top score was closer to what I actually got on my test. So I would say definitely take these like starting 3 weeks before your exam. Take one every other day, take one every 2 days, full length, and simulate test conditions. Like do it at the time that you schedule your exam is the time you should be practicing your exams. Like if your test is at 8 a.m., you should wake up at 8 a.m. and take a full length practice exam a few times. So I mean personally I really top score.
Keep the same thing you were doing the test, but when you wrote the test you can't just get up and go to the bathroom, you're using your time.
Really get your, waking up, sleeping schedules, everything on track for exactly what testing is going to be like because you don't want any surprises.
Yeah, and crack that pat was probably the closest thing to the DAT section.
Yeah, for your perceptual ability, crack that is, I would say, the best resource. So AP Quiz, honestly, really quickly, AP Quiz is a must, crack that is a must, and I would say the destroyers.
Destroyers, I have questions directly out of the
Directly.
like legit, like word for word. So.
Any other questions? Okay, well, I'm sure the other speakers present on will also go into it a little bit more.
All right, thank you. We'll have Catherine, Kevin.
Hi guys, how are you guys all doing?